Good afternoon, and welcome to A Gathering Place, brought to you by the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. And today is Politics Talk, and I welcome everyone for joining us today. Brandon is going to be, they're running late. They're running late. So we're going to just chit chat and catch up on what's going on in the world. And drop your questions. We can answer your questions. I can answer your questions directly in a few minutes, right after this opening. See you in a minute.
Hello, I'm Marilyn Hemingway, and welcome to A Gathering Place. I said, I'm stepping back because we have young voices who want to be heard and they're moving on something.
Branding is really important to you and your business.
Even a basic type of technology, you learn it all.
And people are
Good question.
Well, folks, welcome back. Thank you for joining us on this third Sunday for A Gathering Place. And if you have any politics questions, talk that you want answered, well, I'm here. Brandon and Jamarr are on their way. And so I'm kicking back for a few minutes while we wait for them and just chit chat and take your questions or your comments. We want to hear from you too and get your opinion on what's going on. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in our world. Have any of you been paying attention what's going on in Texas with the critical race theory and our history with just preventing telling the whole truth about our history? That's one topic we are going to discuss today. And then also upcoming elections. I was just reading recently how people were considering, not people, I should say, I can't remember who said it, but I think it was even yesterday, that local, state, and federal elections every year are important. But in particular, local elections are important because they impact the everyday stuff. And we need to pay attention to them and not only vote, we need to be engaged citizens. And what does that mean? That means knowing the policies and issues that impact you. So what policy and issues important to you? Drop it in the comment section. Let me know. Let's talk about that and share your opinion with me. We've had recent in Texas abortion laws that were passed. And why Texas is so crucial is that a lot of other conservative governors look at what's going on in Texas, in particular the abortion law, which really has flipped how we approach the Roe versus Wade. That law that was passed in Texas, do you realize that it actually makes regular citizens vigilantes? They will pay you $10,000 if you report someone who has had an abortion, a woman, anyone who helps that woman to attain an abortion, whether it's a doctor or someone who may drive that woman to the hospital or clinic, can be turned in, and the person who turns them in can get $10,000. So this law is codifying regular citizens as vigilantes. And if that is not anti-democratic and also anti-woman, because understand, abortion, it's not about having babies or not having babies, the anti-abortion rights, folks. It's about controlling women's bodies. And it really is. And if you really understand and study policies and issues and study history, that's why they don't want you to know the full truth of history in America, because it tells some truths that we need to understand the context of what's going on now. But anyway, why are they so pro-birth? One, is the population is changing in the United States. It's becoming more black and brown. And the latest census actually has shown that this is happening faster than predicted. So we have a population that has been used to privilege and the country revolving around their wants and needs, and while it discriminates against others or suppressing the wants and needs of others. And let's be quite frank, the white baby population is decreasing while Black and brown, in particular brown, the Hispanic next population is increasing. And that's scaring some folks. That's scaring some folks. So this is why you see a lot of these voter suppression laws. The anti-abortion movement is embedded in that. Now, they're not going to tell you that. Why would they tell you that? Because the secret would be out, right? So they use code words, and we know about code words. If you're Black in America, they're racist code words. So instead of saying the N word, they say, I'm anti-busing. Or even with voter suppression, they don't come out directly and say we're doing this to suppress Black voters and brown voters. They use code words about voter fraud. But in particular, voter fraud is always usually directed towards majority Black and brown large cities or states that are maybe flipping purple or flipping towards a more blue layout because of diversification of their population. So we have to understand the context of politics, history, economics, and what's going on around us. And it impacts everything that we do. It impacts everything we do. That's why it's so important to vote. It impacts who gets a job. It impacts how much you're paid on the job. It impacts our education system, who goes to public schools, who has the ability, access to go to become homeschooled or private school or charter schools. It impacts the banking system, financial systems, which impacts housing, affordable housing, and housing built for folks who have a certain income. It impacts everything. This is why it's so important that we need to get involved. So drop in the comment section. I want to hear your thoughts and comments regarding voting policies and issues. What's going on in your hometown that may be controversial? In my hometown, affordable housing has been a controversial subject in the last few months. Gentrification. You see it in Hilton Head. Gentrification basically has changed the demographics of the area. It's not only Hilton Head, Charleston. The last census, this census 2020, shows that the Black population in Charleston is around 8%. And how many of you realize that the Black population in the city of Charleston used to be around 88%? Yep, gentrification, that's right, Ebony. And now, not only is the Black population disappearing in the city, the Black population is decreasing in the county of Charleston also. So where are these folks going? Do you ever ask yourself those questions? Where are they going? I think right now, part of the growth you see in Berkeley and Dorchester are folks getting pushed out of Charleston and North Charleston. So they're going further inland, which means further northwest, further northeast, depending on where you're located. But that's not even a given. A lot of folks are just simply leaving for better opportunity. So if you go to an Atlanta, you go to a Jacksonville, you go to a Charlotte, Raleigh, then New York and New Jersey, you will more than likely find family members. Now, the Great Migration, which started in the early 1900s, people went to Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, the northeastern states for, let me say the first reason, to escape violence. The second reason, economic opportunity. And those two are interconnected. Chicago, Minneapolis, and out to California. Hey, Eric, how are you? Hey, Ebony, how are you? Ebony, yep, gentrification. Brandon Upson is going to be joining us. He says he's running about 15 minutes late. So I'm here just kind of talking to folks. Share your thoughts with me. It will be interesting to see if how this quickening fear of population change occasions even more resource distribution to predominantly white schools, for example. Eric, that's actually a very good point. I recently posted on Facebook because in Georgetown, we're having a contentious city of Georgetown election. And whether it's intentional or not, I did write, because I believe this on a national scale, that the Republican Party, and especially the Trump wing of the Republican Party, which basically has taken over the Republican Party, which, by the way, is not operating as a party anymore. And I'll get to that in a second. I really think they want to put in an apartheid system of government, an authoritarian apartheid system, because they know they can't slow down the population demographic change. But by golly, what they can do is put in a government that it truly is ruled by the minority controlling the majority. And what country does that bring to mind? But in South Africa, the apartheid system. And the late comedian Robin Williams used to joke about it. And he was vehemently against the apartheid system and saying, what sense does it make? You literally have like 50 million Black people and maybe 2 million white people controlling them. If you get into a physical war, who's going to win that fight? Simply by attrition. You would just wipe out that 2 million. And and this is strictly my opinion. I guess I have to say that since I'm doing this show and I have an organization supporting the show. This is Marilyn Henry's personal opinion. An apartheid system of government where a minority controls the majority. Yep, Ebony, South Africa, that's right. And it wasn't until international pressure that government started to fall. And quite frankly, we've somewhat had an apartheid system type government because we are not actually a democratic government. We are a democratic republic government. And what does that mean? Yep, Eric, that's what's happening in Texas. I don't know if you guys heard the videotape, the audio tape that was released the last 2 days where a school leader, administrative leader, stated that they needed to, the teachers needed to teach an opposing view of the Holocaust. What opposing view can you have of the Holocaust where a country slaughtered millions because of their religion or their homosexuality, or they were not deemed Aryan, blonde, blue-eyed enough? They weren't the right race. And I said the homosexuality because they killed homosexuals also. They killed gypsies. The gypsies were caught up in it also. The majority, millions, were of the Jewish faith. That's crazy. But these folks are organized. They have deep pockets, and they want stuff like this to happen. So when you say in educational content, so no CRT in schools. And the thing is, there's no CRT in K through 12 right now. This is a grad school, law school theory. But of course, they're using it to invoke fear from those that they're controlling now through fear, which is opposing views. I've seen that. How can you justify the Holocaust? I know it's actually evil. It's very evil. But what's so I'm not even call it sad because I'm way past the point of sympathy with these folks, but they are just ginning up low-income, ignorant white folks to support a system that suppresses them too. And it's always been race. That's the code word. It's always been about race. Because we literally have the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution that said our ancestors were 3/5 of a human. They codified slavery. They for all the talk about liberty and freedom, they codified into law that our ancestors were 3/5 of a human and that they upheld the institution of slavery. And we live with that to this day. Just because you pass a law does not mean you change the heart. And that's what we're seeing to this day, that people who have been raised believe in that everything revolves around them because of the color of their skin, because they're white. They were raised to believe that, my whiteness Everything should revolve around me. And they're having serious meltdowns because that's changing. And that's why tyranny-minded government is dangerous. Trump wanted to rule like Hitler, and he still does. He still does. I see these memes, especially by liberal folks, and this is stuff that kind of burns me up too. When they say, "Oh, I wake up in the morning," you see the coffee mug and says, when I wake up in the morning, I'm happy because Trump is no longer president." I'm paraphrasing. Well, okay, he's no longer president, but he's still out there having rallies. He's still up there ginning up anger and fear of the other. And the most obvious other are people of color, spending money. Look at Steve. They're flaunting the rules of law. Steve Bannon point blank defying a subpoena from the House committee on January 6th insurrection. And yes, it was an insurrection because invoking presidential privilege, which no longer works anymore. Plus, Steve Bannon was not working for the White House at the time. So all they're wanting to do is drag this out. So what can we do to fight back against this? Be engaged citizens, number one. Get knowledge on any topic that you can. And I know a lot of us folks, retired. We work 2 or 3 jobs and everything. And you get home, you don't want to hear it. You just want to rest. But even if you don't know, find somebody who does know, who could give you the Cliff Notes version of the right information. All right, Brandon's coming in. Let me post some more stuff really quickly. And Hitler didn't kill anyone himself. That's right. He rallied enough people to believe that it was okay. That's why January 6th needs to be condemned heavier. It most certainly does, Ebony. January 6th is no joke. And it's not just January 6th. They continue every day to undermine democracy. And this is serious, folks. Democracy is under attack. And here's another one. The control of money and curricular content will allow a minority population to continue its dominance. That's right, Eric. That's right. And that's what I'm concerned about, an apartheid system. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Y'all having a good conversation on here.
Yeah, I'm just talking while we were waiting. So the great comments and everything. We're just talking about what's going on in Texas with the abortion law, but also critical race theory and these laws that were passed to basically dictate what the school system is going to teach. And I want to throw this in really quickly. 2 things. Why Texas is so problematic. 1, because the content, what they're trying to do is just wrong. It's wrong. But 2, Texas influences the rest of the country because it's one of the top 3 states that booksellers use to determine what textbooks they're going to print. The booksellers, it's all about money making. So the less they have to print that are customized to each state, the better. So they use the larger states to determine what the content in the textbooks, then they go and sell it to the rest of the states. So if it's wrong in Texas, it's going to be wrong in South Carolina. It's going to be wrong in Rhode Island. It's going to be wrong in Utah. And that's why it's so important. We just can't say, oh, that's happening over in Texas. This is a national problem. And go ahead, Brandon.
No, you're absolutely right. I remember at the good old College of Charleston, one of my professors, she was a state representative or a state senator from California. She's the one who passed the legislation on the 5-gallon buckets where you see that picture of the child dropping over the drowning warning. So she passed that in California. And because California is so big, they had to implement that across the entire nation. Same thing when we talk about our textbooks and even our curriculum. Folks don't understand these big states, these huge school districts, they impact other school districts across the nation. So they are strategically taking advantage of Texas while they have it. And I got to repeat that, while they have it. They're going to try to get all this stuff done, from critical race theory to dismantling Roe v. Wade, and we're going to see Texas continue to be just as crazy as South Carolina politically. and through these policies they drive, and because they know they're on the countdown before Texas goes the other way.
That's right. That's right. So that's what I said earlier, Brandon, before you got on. My concern has been for the last 4 to 5 years is that the Republicans, one, they're not operating as a party, and they're operating to create an apartheid form of government where the minority truly controls the majority before they're demographically pushed out. They're trying to get that government where it's just a few people. Even though we're a democratic republic, we still have a voice if you show up and vote. But they're trying to create an authoritarian apartheid type system where the minority truly controls everything, impacting the majority. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, and we have to realize that as a community of Black and brown voters, right? We don't have to take that classification as minorities much longer, and we can start changing our mind about that classification right now, because it's going to happen faster than we expected. The New York Times just put out an article this past week highlighting the undercounting of the census in our Black and brown communities, especially across the South. And with what they did count, they showed that we were beating their previous projections on when America would become a majority Black and brown nation, right? So we got to get ready and realize that because they are losing numbers and we are gaining all across this country, they are going to start doing everything that the law allows that to maintain power, even if they are in the minority.
That's right.
Look at the U.S. Senate right now. Technically, the Republicans are in a minority, but they have figured out strategically how to influence and hijack our United States Senate so that we don't get any progressive or equitable or bills that make things equitable in our country. So we got to get ourselves together.
That's so true, Brandon. And one question: what do you think about Joe Manchin? I'm over him. I'm so Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. And y'all, just to give y'all a little bit of background, I lived in Arizona for 5.5 years. I lived there when it was very Republican. I have voted Republican, y'all, in the past before, because I think I've missed one election in my entire life since I've been since 18 when I registered to vote. So I voted in Republican where the Democratic Party basically was barely alive. Okay. So you had to vote Republican, and I would study and just kind of, there were John McCain Republicans back then that they weren't crazy people. They were either moderate or even some would say even liberal. Barry Goldwater at the end of his life, and I lived in Arizona when Barry Goldwater died. Now, overall, his record was terrible, but he was actually pro-choice. And the reason he was pro-choice because he said, I'm so conservative because government is not supposed to be in your personal business. And he was pro-choice, died pro-choice. So back in the day when Republicans had a little bit more sense, I voted Republican. And no, I didn't agree. Barry Goldwater had some serious issues, but there used to be some sane Republicans. But now, Christine Sinema, I don't even know why. What is her opposition to the voting rights bills that need to be passed? What is her opposition to passing the $3.5 trillion financial bill that we need passed? So investing in infrastructure, childcare, all of those topics. Any thoughts, Brandon?
Yeah, we can put both of them in a bag and throw them away with the trash, in my opinion, because I will take a honest racist over a undercover racist any day. I'm not calling them racist, but I'm talking about someone who is being truthful and I know who they are up front versus someone who's smiling in my face and don't have my best intentions at heart, right? Those two are perfect examples of politicians who have placed their corporate donors above the people that they're supposed to serve. The
Exactly.
reason why, you know, they've been taking the stances that they've taken is because you have corporations and entities like, you know, the Koch brothers foundation, who have threatened them in their to influence their elections, if they don't vote a certain way or take certain positions. But if you are truly a public servant and you care about the people, you are going to do what's right no matter the cost. We need political courage in our U.S. Senate, in our government, from school board up to the presidency. Because if we don't have political courage, we're going to be suffering an apartheid system of government where a minority rules the majority. And more, we're going to see Black communities across this country missing out on opportunities to build generational wealth, missing out on opportunities to bring equity within our justice system, missing out on opportunities to build our infrastructure and have quality education and quality air and water in our communities. We need people who are willing to do the right thing no matter what. And we don't have it right now, especially in those two.
Man, I so agree with you, and I'm so glad that you said that about the local, state, and federal level. Those two, I mean, what I can tell people to do is y'all call their office. Even if you don't live in West Virginia or Arizona, you need to call these folks and let them know. Because when they take the oath of office, they take it to the Constitution, the United States Constitution. They don't take it just to people in Arizona. They represent Arizona, but they take that oath of office to the United States Constitution. So we all have a right to call them and demand that they do right by the people and not by their corporate overlords. And also a point that you've been making, Brandon, and it's so important to know this based on local stuff, building generational wealth. And we got about 7 more minutes because I'm cutting it short. The show short today, Brandon. I'm tired from yesterday.
I've been in 6 counties in 30 hours now.
Yeah, I saw your post.
I'm in Augusta, Georgia right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You've been moving. So we got 7 more minutes. All right. But you've been emphasizing generational wealth. You've been emphasizing that we have got to be involved in this American Rescue Plan on the local, state level. It's a lot. There's billions of dollars being dispersed because of the Biden administration coming to deal with COVID. And a huge percentage of that money is for Black and brown communities to take advantage of. And we need to be involved in that process, Brandon. And I know you've been emphasizing it. So anything new we need to know, anything you want to share with us regarding that?
Yeah. So as it pertains to the American Rescue funds, you know, we got over $8 billion allocated to the state of South Carolina from the federal government for those funds particularly. And what scared me initially before the bill was passed was the fact that they were going to leave it up to the local municipalities and counties to allocate those funds. The reason why it scared me was because they've never proven to us in the past that they were willing to do the right thing by our community. So what would change them now that they have $1 billion in their hands, right?
That's right.
And now they're prove my fears correct. You know, the governor stopped the distribution of some of those funds to our majority Black counties in the state and all the other good stuff. But what folks need to know is that you must know who your county council member is, because county council has the largest percentage of that money. And when you figure out who your county council member is, you ask them, has the bill, the act, been read into the record? The reason why we need it to be read into the record is because we need the counties to acknowledge the percentage of those funds that were supposed to go into our communities. You know, it's in the bill. So if they have not read it into record, that's the first thing we need to do. After that, if you have a nonprofit, if you have a community organization, if you have a community program, you need to work with your local government, either county council member or city council member, to flush that out so that once they release these RFPs, you can submit your proposal to get funded through the American Rescue dollars. We have folks in Aiken County who are doing a program. They just got, I believe, $500,000. We have folks in York County doing agricultural training who just got approved for money. We have folks all across the state, and let me just give some examples. So one of the contracts or proposals that was accepted was to strengthen minority businesses in their county by providing them with training on how to be a more productive and effective business, and provide them with micro loans to scale out their program. There was another program that helped mothers who were survivors of domestic violence start their own businesses. So, you can anywhere in there, child after school programs, you can get it funded through the American Rescue dollars. So if you know anyone who has a program or you have a program, contact your county council member, contact your city council member, start that conversation now and prepare a quality proposal so that you can get it funded, because this money was put here for you and I, and we can't sleep on it, y'all. $8 billion into South Carolina can change millions of lives.
That's right. We can't sleep on it for 3 reasons. And let me be clear why we can't sleep on it, folks. 1, this is why you need to vote folks who are going to represent us into office. Start there, voting. 2, show up when they have these American Rescue Plan community meetings or your county council meetings or city council meetings. Show up and ask questions. Even if you don't know, just stand there and say, tell me about the American Rescue Plan, because that serves notice that you're paying attention and you're here to hold them accountable. 3, want and demand that they spend the money they're supposed to spend in Black and brown communities. And 4, follow up and make sure, as Brandon said, if you have a nonprofit or some type of organization that can tap in those funds, get together with your plans and go get those funds. There are 4 steps, folks. This is why we need to be more than just a voter. We need to be engaged citizens, especially now, because even in the city of Georgetown, with the Republicans are running a ticket that it's going to end up gentrifying Georgetown, and we are not going to be at the table, y'all, unless we speak up and stop hitting each other when we speak up, because we operate all too often sometimes from fear of change. We too often talk the talk, but we don't walk the walk. Change takes work. And it starts, 1, with voting. So get out and vote November 2nd. Actually, get out and vote tomorrow, October 18th, because early absentee ballot voting in person is happening right now. You could do it right now, wherever you are in South Carolina or any state that has it. 2, vote on November 2nd if you can't vote right now. 3, show up and speak out. We can no longer afford to sit back and just pray and hope it turns out okay. Faith without works is dead. We got to work, folks. We got to work for it. Brandon, we're going to go ahead and wrap up because both you and I are rolling. We rolling and everything. Well, thank you for coming on our third Sunday Politics Talk.
As always, it's a pleasure. I ran out so I could make sure I got on when I told you I would be on. But I just want to leave folks with, what we just said. It's not just happening in Georgetown. It's happening in every small town across South Carolina. If you are in McCormick, South Carolina, or Rock Hill, South Carolina, this Tuesday is your election. If y'all know someone in any of those cities or towns, tell them to go out and vote, on Tuesday, October 19th, in their local elections. I said this before. Last year, Donald Trump, Lindsey Graham spent millions of dollars to expand the Republican electorate in our state and to increase their infrastructure for turn out their votes. And now they're fielding candidates to run and challenge Democrats in safe Democratic districts, but they're winning because we're asleep at the wheel. If we lose these races, we can't blame anyone else but ourselves because we have enough votes in these districts to win. There's no reason why a Trump loyalist is serving as the city of Sumter's mayor or city council in Florence, the city of Florence, District 1. We can save the mayor's seat in Georgetown, South Carolina. We can save city council and the mayor's seat in New Ellington, South Carolina, McCormick, right. Rock Hill, Spartanburg, and they're coming after it. But we got to wake up, rise, organize, and turn out the vote. If we miss this opportunity, they are going to be in charge of allocating this $8 billion that we have in our state right now. This is what it's about. It's not about winning an election. It's about maintaining money, control, and power. And that's what they're after. They don't care about us. They want those three things. So we got to get to it.
Very good. Thank you, Brandon. That's the perfect way to end this show. You know, I don't know if you had a chance to see the email I sent, but AFL-CIO is going to send a representative to one of our shows.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so I am too. Because to leave y'all with this thought, there is a huge labor movement going on in this state, and the media is not covering it, and we are not paying attention. And I've been kind of keeping up. I had to get through my conference yesterday, but I've been kind of paying attention to some things for the last 2 years in particular. COVID has exposed a lot of stuff, and people are not sitting down anymore. And the next time we talk on Politics Talk Together, Brandon, we're going to talk about that. I hope they'll be here on the next show because we need to talk about that.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. And there's a lot happening.
It is. Brandon, go ahead back to what you said. Thank you for popping in, and we'll see you later.
See ya. Thank you.
Right. You're welcome. Bye. All right. As usual, Brandon pops in, does his thing. We'll catch Jamarr next time. He I deal with a lot of important people. With Brandon and Jamarr. It's always good to see them. And when they can get in, I am deeply appreciative when they can pop in and do what they can do and talk to us because they are both out there. Jamarr is co-executive director of the Texas Democratic Party. He is on the ground in the midst of the battle, y'all. And its national implications, as we stated early in the show. And Brandon, of course, with Amplify Action, a national organization to get more black males out registered and out to vote. And then, of course, he is the recently elected chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party Black Caucus. So there's a lot going on, folks. We're making things happen. And if you need the Gatheirng Chamber of Commerce and our family of organizations to come into your community and demand that Black and brown neighbor communities get funded under the American Rescue Plan, reach out to me, Marilyn at GatheirngChamber.org. Let us know, and we will send a letter, show up, do what we can within that context to educate the communities and also demand that money is spent the way it should be spent. Y'all, it's been good today. Thank you for the short time with us today. It's actually an excellent show, 40 minutes. And we enjoyed being with you as always on every third Sunday when we do Politics Talks. Have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Good night.